It's a pleasure to have you here at the Bloomberg TV HP Workflow Transformation Summit. MFPs primarily address three major trends: workflow digitization, cloud, and mobility. Time saving, paper wastage, high running cost, lack of adequate quality in color prints, users struggle with uploading content to shared resources on the network. What challenges in workflow management do you see? And briefly also touch upon what solutions have you been considering so far?
Workflows, as an organization, we definitely have certain workflow systems enabled, primarily from our employee self-service portals perspective, where employee leaves, where there's a workflows enabled for that, as well as for all the online travel requests. These are two workflows which are already in place. More than enterprise application, I will look as a normal end user. As IT infrastructure head, when we are servicing so many 20,000 plus end users, and we receive around roughly around 1 lakh plus service requests. Service request is anything, any new request, whether it's as simple as asking for a new domain, a user ID, or an IMAG form. All these requests are still paper-based. So challenge for me as infrastructure head and for the organization is how we can put this entire process of handling the service request from end users to an automated workflow, which can really help our end users. So I think that's one area which we are quite actively looking at, and which is a pain point which we want to address. And definitely there are many other workflows as an organization we are looking for. We are only working on.
He brought out a very important point. We seem to be using a lot of paper at a very low level. That is requisition slips and stuff like that. While the same paper and the same printing expenditure can be spent on printing beautiful documents. For example, we'll come back to that. Mr. Jain, do you see similar challenges in your organization?
There are challenges in the area of administrative processes. So if I start with the product development, we have a central repository called Product Data Management System, and most of our designs and drawings and software files are stored and globally shared from there. So I don't see those challenges with papers in the product designs and documents. But when we come to day-to-day admin processes like payments, vouchers, or material receipts, or goods receipts, definitely they are paper-based and they require a physical signature. So these are definitely challenges where we are using paper, and probably that can be avoided.
You talked about designs and documents, and you have your own central repository. How do you today capture these designs and documents and store them in your central repository?
Right. So if I talk about the mechanical drawings, they are typically generated through the design tools like ProE or similar tools, CATIA. And similarly, the electronics designs, they are created with tools like OrCAD and Proton. And so they straight away give you the digital output, and you can convert it into PDF and then store it. If you take the software deliverables, again they are in the binary or executables. So that's again a digital content which we can put into the repository.
And when somebody wants to take a print of those, how do they go about?
So basically, first they will have access to the repository. It's a global repository, so there are predefined set of accesses depending on the nature of your job function and the need. So once you get the access, you download the document from there, and then there is a shared printer across the facility where you can shoot a network print and then go walk down to the printer and collect pages.
Yeah. So MFPs are designed to do away with that intermediary. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think I think there are two aspects to this, right? So one definitely is that we just spoke about the information being all that content just exploding, right? And it's just going on, and I wish it does, because I wish success to each and every organization that we have more number of employees, and we have a higher turnover, and that information just explodes. But at the same time, the responsibility on the on the team here is to ensure that their end users are able to actually we are able to meet their their needs, which is in two ways. One, I think the point that you rightly pointed out here was that by doing away with this intermediary, right, we are able to actually capture the information faster, right? The cost associated with the flow of paper, because if it is if it has to happen rather than in a distributed manner, if it has to happen in a centralized centralized manner, it means that there is a cost, right, of actually that of that document moving. There is a cost of storing it. So the fact that we can do it in a distributed way, in a balanced deployment scenario, we are able to actually bring down that cost, and two, we are able to digitize that faster. And on the flip side, right, what it also means is that a lot of that information, if it has to be converted back into paper, right, that again doesn't need to happen in a two-step way. It can happen on the device itself. So what we are effectively saying is that if we have some of this content, you either a SharePoint or there are certain user forms, right, and there's certain templates which are made available on the on the device itself. All that one has to do is without having to access your PC, one is able to do that in a one step on the device itself, right? So that's that's one one very critical element. So it eliminates this intermediary step of using your PC both ways, both in terms of loading, uploading, which is up the ramp, and also being able to print that when you need it. The applications could be many. The applications could be when you are looking at possibly an interface with the end customer, right? I would just to give an example, it means that if there is a template which has to be taken, filled up, scanned, uploaded, and it could be approved in approved in real time, printed again back on the device, and it's done. So what it means is it brings in a speed to the entire process, right? And we can when we can look at it as a end customer scenario, or we can look at it as our internal employees also being end customers. So if you're able to bring in that speed of execution both ways, that's where it can really make an.
Could you tell us where you are starting and what's your vision towards?
As an organization, we have the entire our enterprise application team is definitely looking at various solutions for developing the workflows. There are various technologies which are being used. Some custom made using .NET environment, and second is something very specialized application like Cordis, etc. Which is directly within control of the infrastructure, which currently I am focusing out. Although Mr. Jain has mentioned various things which are related to business using a data flow. We interact with our HR department. People have to fill up, visit that place. So many forms, medical forms they have to fill up. How we can do all this digitized workflows part? Those are the immense possibilities we have already where we are working on. Few areas which are very directly linked to infrastructure, which I am giving an example, is as simple as filling up an IMAC form or putting a request for any new PC, which requires a person to first go to the portal, go to the standard template of the IMAC, okay, take a printout, okay, with signature, scan it, and send it to the IT service desk.
That's very, very important.
And very simple, because why for a location, for user which are spread across 130 plus location, and where a single interface for them with IT is only the IT service desk, which is running from an offshore delivery center. You have to, this process, you have to interface with the service desk, and to standardize this process, this is a very simple part I am talking about, and what we are looking at, how we can digitize this workflow. Of the various around 8,000 service requests we receive every month.
That's huge.
Only for such requests for getting a domain ID, access to the email access, IMEC forms. And if I see our daily trend, I see normally at any moment of time around 300-400 calls are open. Why? First, around 40% user has not filled up the form correctly. And then the different chain of emails start between IT service desk and the end user. He will submit his form, I have submitted, he say no, you have forgot to fill the date out there. The service, IT service desk agent resend that the form is not filled, please fill up the date. I am seeing, this is a very practical part I am talking about. 30-40% calls are just waiting there, where my turnaround time is getting increased just because of these simple things.
Cost, yes, but what would, how would it suit an SME? Otis and Tata Motors are big shops. But
it is the solution inside the box. The fact that you do not need dedicated, and specialized IT resources to manage it, right? And the fact that it is scalable to your needs, right? And most importantly, right? Any investment that a small and medium enterprise makes has to give a return on that investment. So if it is able to drive a business of the growth and help them grow and bring speed and productivity to their business, it is an absolutely very strong return on that investment.
so I thank Mr. Jain, Mr. Ahmed, and Mr. Singh for joining us here today. It was wonderful speaking to you.